Two big things. This is week 2 of Stefan and I here at Buckeye Talk, bringing you a video where we're just interested in what we're going to talk about with Ryan Day. After you're watching this, we're actually preparing to talk with Ryan Day. Get the text 614-350-3315. Ohio State coming off of a 14-7 win over Texas, and now they get a chance to take a breath. They'll play Grambling State on Saturday at 3:30. I think that game is at Big Ten Network if you want to watch that game. It's obviously a step below, a significant step below from where they were last week, but there still are things to learn. Stefan, what's on your mind? What do you want to learn from Ryan Day as we talk with him on Tuesday?
Yeah, I want to learn, what exactly is going to be going on at the right guard situation. Is this somewhere where we continue to see rotation, which I think is going to be the case? Or is this a chance for maybe Tegra or Ethan Onyanwa to solidify themselves as a starter and maybe not have so much rotation going forward? And that's why I think these next couple of weeks are so important. And I guess kind of the big picture, question that goes along with that is you spent 9 months getting this team ready to go to play the number one team in the country. And it's easy to mentally take a little bit of a step back knowing the competition. How do you keep these guys up, though? Because there's still a lot for them to play for, right? Like Ethan Onyanwa and Tegra Shabola have a lot to play for against Grambling in Ohio, right? Like guys like Devin Sanchez and Aaron Scott and people who are competing to get on the field more and more have a lot to play for. So what is the messaging, right? Like what do you say to a team when they just beat the number one team in the country and now they got to come back against Grambling State and Ohio? How do you get them up? How do you get them to keep going with the momentum that you've got now as a result of this Texas game? Because there are questions left to be answered, right guard being among them. So that's kind of my big question for this of if these guys can be up for the task and ready to go there, regardless of the level of competition, there's still some position battles that need to be decided, or at least give us a better idea of what Ohio State's going to do with it moving forward. And that kind of starts here, because if, let's say they didn't play Texas, let's say this is week 1 and it's week 1 against Grambling, week 2 against Ohio, what will we be saying? Okay, let's see who the starting right guard is going into the Washington game.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of where we are now. Let's see what happens at the situation at that position going into the Washington game, because they both looked okay against Texas and both had their shine. Ethan Onyanwa, I think, only played 15 snaps compared to Tegra, who played closer to 60, I think it was. So like that, there's still some things to be learned there. And if this was week 1, we'd be keeping a really close eye on it. So just because the Texas game showed us one thing doesn't mean that those two guys specifically, but maybe even some other spots on the team, that they don't have a lot to play for these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we spent 9 months just trying to get through this game, and now we can have conversations about micro things, right? It was a lot of macro conversation when you're starting the season off with Texas, and now you can talk about the micro, which is where my head is at as well. I don't think we know what this offensive identity is quite yet. I think all that was learned is Julian Sand can handle this. Everything else was the defensive identity, I think, is very clear. They're going to put these guys in a position to where what they are as athletes are going to be able to do that. Snap in and snap bases. On offense, there's a lot of different ways that they can drive this car, right? You've got 3 elite receivers. And then number 4 and number 5, I think, are interesting guys with Mylan Graham and Bryson Rogers and maybe Quincy Porter, who I'm sure we're all expecting to see all 3 of those guys over the next 2 weeks here. Running back situation, CJ Donaldson was probably the better short yardage back, which is why we saw him more. But is this becoming a situation where CJ Donaldson is your lead back and then you sprinkle in some James Peoples? Or did you just want to get through that game with a guy that you knew had been through this before and also probably fit what you were doing in that game better, so you saw more of him? Do we see more of that? Do we see the run game maybe start to click a little bit more over the next 2 weeks? If you go listen to the Monday Buckeye Talk, we talked about the fact that Max Clare played the 3rd most snaps amongst the tight ends behind Bennett Christian and Will Kazmarek. Where is Max Clare as a blocker, right? Because we know what he can be as a receiving threat, but where can he be as a blocker to where he's not playing 23 snaps while Bennett Christian's playing 28 and Will Kazmarek is playing 48 every time you get into a matchup game? How can you ingratiate him more into things? How many different places are going to play JJ? JJ played some X, he played some Z against Texas. Does that continue to evolve? Do we see him in the slot maybe a little bit more? Do we see Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate maybe get a little bit more involved? Brandon Ennis, I don't believe had a catch. I think he had 2 targets in that game on Saturday. Now that you've gotten through this game and you know what you have up here mentally, Let's start developing an offensive identity. How does this team want to run the ball? Do they want to be an inside zone team, an outside zone team? Do they want to be a gap scheme run game? Do they want to be a team who is play action deep shot? Do they want to be a team who's heavy on the RPOs, intermediate stuff? Do you want to be heavy screen, heavy behind the line of scrimmage? I just think now you spent 9 months thinking about one thing, and now you get 30 days to figure out the rest of the season, and you can start to build that identity. So where is Ryan Day's head at in terms of where he thinks the team offensively, that identity is headed, versus what he wants to find out over the next 2 weeks about what they can and can't do offensively from an X's and O's standpoint, because that is now what's important. You're probably the number one team. I at least put them number one in my AP belt. I would assume most other people did as well. If they didn't, we're recording this on a Monday. You find this out Tuesday. But the identity, which is hand in hand of what you're talking about, who your best players are. Okay, that's an ongoing process. Okay, how are you going to use them offensively? Because Matt Patricia seems to have that figured out defensively. Offensively, maybe they didn't necessarily have that just wasn't where their mental space was at the time of doing so. 614-350-3315. That's what we're going in there to ask Ryan Day about on Tuesday when we talk with him as Ohio State prepares to play Grambling State this weekend and Ohio next weekend. Big Ten play starts at the end of the month. It's a 2-week free trial and $3.99 after that. And go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We talk about all these things. We're doing like 7 or 8 minutes here. We do like 45 minutes to an hour and a half there. It's a good time. Go join us there. For Stefan Krajisnik, I'm Stephen Means. That was a video version of Ohio State Buckeye Talk. See you guys at the game on Saturday.